Hello and welcome back to another Crochet Saturday. Today we are going to be testing out the We Crochet City Tweed. Yep, this one right here. Now if you want to skip all of the chit chat and just get to the nuts and bolts and what my review determined, you can skip to the timeline stamp down below. I will make sure to put that in so that you don't have to listen to me through the process. But I tell you, if you do, I bet you're going to pick up a few great tidbits along the way. So, my name is Nicole Bandis. Let's dive right in. All right, so today we're looking at this City Tweed. It is a DK weight yarn and it is in the colorway Brocade. It's 123 yards, 50 grams. Let's go ahead and get our swatch going and we'll take a look at what we've got here. Give me a little placeholder and see what we think. Now, tweed, if you are not familiar, is a technique that they use to give yarn a little extra color, but in the process it also gets these little, they're called nebs. And let's see, so there's a black one right there, there's kind of a tan one, and there's little ones throughout. They're just kind of little flecks of felt as they're weaving through the yarn. Here's kind of a fluffy white one. So on this, you're definitely going to have some extra stuff hanging on. That is part of the tweed process. Now, I have sort of shied away from tweeds, just kind of from the overall feeling personally that it was a little too Ivy League, country club sort of vibe. But I gotta tell you, I ordered this City Tweed for one of my custom design jackets. She was looking for a deep purple color, and this was the one that really hit the bill, hit the mark the best. And as I was looking at it, I'm like, well, I don't know if she's going to like the tweed. I don't know if I like the tweed because it kind of looks, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's an interesting kind of look overall. But I went ahead and got it. I started working up the swatch for the sleeve, and I have to tell you, it is stunning. I don't know if it's the color purple, because frankly, that is my favorite color. This is pretty close to one of my favorite colors right here. Favorite shade of favorite color. Purple is definitely my favorite color, but then there are definitely shades of purple that I like better than others. But this rich, vibrant, sort of almost royal purple with black undertones is a really, really nice color in my opinion. And I gotta say, I don't hate the tweed in there. I actually like it quite a bit more than I expected. So, yeah, but you know, it is always a personal opinion. Everything I say on here is my personal opinion, and I encourage you to test out the yarns and make your own sort of judgment as well. But at least this gives you a little bit of a starting place of what to expect. So, the City Tweed is a combination yarn. It is 55% merino wool, 25% super fine alpaca, and 20% dongle tweed. So that dongle tweed is the one that gives that the color in here overall. So, and I think that alpaca, which if you've never felt an alpaca yarn, it is insanely soft. I've never felt a pure cashmere, but I think that alpaca is softer than cashmere, in my personal opinion. Could be wrong if I actually felt a full cashmere. I might change my mind, but it is just one of those heavenly soft yarns. Unfortunately, alpaca by itself has issues. It tends to not have good memory, meaning it sags. After you've given it a hand wash or worn it a little bit, it will start to sag, and nothing you do will help to get that back into a good shape. So by itself, it is not a great garment yarn, other than maybe for like a hat or a scarf or something that's kind of no big deal overall. But if you want to do it for like a sweater or a top, it's probably not a great idea to use a 100% alpaca yarn. So I was hoping that maybe getting the alpaca combined with the wool would really help to give it a lot more stability. That's one of the great things about getting yarns that are mixed, is you often get some combination of both elements, and hopefully, like when you're breeding dogs, you get the best of both sides. Not always the case. Fingers crossed, that's what we get. So this is, on that first feel, it is a little bit more rough because of the tweed in there, but it is actually a super, super soft yarn. At the same time that I got this, I did purchase some of the Capra because I wanted to, kind of compare colorways and that kind of thing. And honestly, I think this has the cashmere in it. This has the alpaca, and I think that the City Tweed is softer than the cashmere, and it's a much better price. But you have to be willing to accept and kind of like that flecky look to it, because that is definitely not something that everybody is going to be attracted to, for sure. Color range on this, there are 28 colors. That's really a pretty decent amount for something like this. It's not the greatest in the world, but it's more than like a 10 or 12 that I often expect with something that's kind of a little bit more on the specialty end than this is. So, it's not too bad. When I look up the reviews on Ravelry for the City Tweed, it comes in with 14,977 projects being made with this and 2,815 ratings. And with that, it has a little bit better than a 4.5 star. Now, with that many projects, that many ratings, most of the ratings overall sound pretty darn amazing for this yarn. Most people really, really like it. So that is definitely a good to know. Now, of course, it being a DK weight, I like DK weight yarns because they're not quite as warm and fussy as a worsted would be. And for me, in my climate where it's a little bit on the hot side most of the time, something that is a little bit lighter weight gets me to feel like I'm participating in the winter projects without having a tremendous amount of heat involved. So that is a good aspect overall. All right, we are almost finished up with a single swatch here. Let's check this out. And I will be I don't always do a full wash and bleed test, but because this is a purple, I'm definitely going to check it out on this one and see how that purple bleeds, or if that purple bleeds. But I don't suspect it will, just based on the reviews that I'm seeing here. Now, stitch definition is, it's kind of an interesting one to judge, because with the tweedy look to it and everything like that, the stitches do get a little bit lost. So if you're looking for something with amazing stitch definition, you're probably not going to get that in this. Now, drape, I would say for a single crochet, this drape is a little almost closer to a worsted. Let's give this a test here and see. Okay, so it's a little, if I don't pull it tight, which I have a tendency to do, it is definitely a little bit over on the closer to the worsted side. So while it rates as a DK, and it probably could just sneak by on the DK, it is definitely probably closer to what I would consider a worsted weight yarn. So it's kind of a heavier DK. And, you know, if you've been crocheting for any length of time, you know that different yarns are going to, even though there's only a handful of categories for weights, there's still a lot of flexibility even within those categories, which is why they always want you to do a swatch test before you actually commit to using a certain yarn for a certain project. And just as an example, I mean, DK says that it's supposed to be anywhere between 12 and 14 wraps per inch. Well, that's kind of a big difference. I mean, you wouldn't think that 3 would be all that much of a big difference, but it really can be. So it's always best to test and swatch and make sure that that is going to be in accordance with whatever project that you have going on. So, yes, for sure. Now this is a hand wash only, dry flat, so it is, and I would suspect that that's the alpaca in there. It might be the tweed. I haven't used any tweed. This is my very first tweed, so I don't know how most tweed works up or what sort of wash makeup it has, but it's definitely a hand wash only, so that is definitely discouraging overall because I like to have projects I don't have to worry about how they're washed. I am using a 5mm crochet hook on this. It asks for anything between a 7 and an I, so I usually try and go right in the middle. That's why I've got my 5mm. The price point on this yard is an extremely reasonable $6.99. At least as of the posting here, that's what it is going for. And I find that while it is only 50 grams, it is more of a premium yarn with the alpaca and the tweed. So for more of a premium yarn, I think that is a very affordable price point. And if you're looking for something that's kind of nicer on the higher end, just to do a hat or a scarf or, you know, an ear warmer, this is a fantastic yarn for all of those. Alright, we're going to do one more row. Sometimes I do 4 rows, but usually if I'm doing the 4, it is to see a really good color change. And since this is mostly a solid color yarn, we will just do the 3 today. Okay, so here we have our double crochet, and we can see the very lovely pattern there. And I just think that purple, I don't know how well you can kind of see that on there. It almost looks more black or charcoal because there are strands of black and then there are strands of this almost royal purple with just a touch of raspberry undertone. And overall, it is really a stunning colorway. Now, the flexibility on the double crochet, Yeah, we're good, girl. I'm a little disappointed on the single crochet, but that's okay. I mean, it's not bad. I would like it to stand, but it doesn't curl much. So, we're good there. I think we're good there. We will go ahead and do our little test to see how this washes up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we are back after our wash test, and you can see there is absolutely no color bleeding whatsoever. Often with a dark color like this, you get some decent amount of bleeding, but there was nothing. The water was just fine without any issues. Now we are doing our wear test, and this is basically where I rub the fibers to emulate what it would be like if you were wearing this on a regular basis. This is just a basic sample. I mean, you know, you get a lot more from the actual wear, but just doing that, you know what? I bet you those fibers would fluff right back up after a good hand wash and kind of whipping that baby into shape, and you are good to go. So I'm not concerned whatsoever with that wear, which gives us some exciting things to think about. All right, so let's go through and do our ratings and see what we get overall here. Okay, so a fiber content. I'm very excited about this fiber makeup, so we are going to give the City Tweed a 10 out of 10 for fiber content. I think that's such a cool combination. Color range. I mean, it's not the most amazing color range, but it's pretty decent. So we're gonna give that, we'll give it a 9 out of 10. The feel, I think this feels really amazing. I would say just a little bit of that tweediness kind of takes it down from a 10 to a 9, but I think it's pretty awesome overall. Stitch definition, I mean, it's, you know, whether it's a visual kind of eye thing or the darkness of the color thing, stitch definition is not that great on this, so we're going to give that a 6 out of 10. Oh, you know what? I did not do the frog it test. Let's frog this bad boy and see what happens. I'm not expecting any issues or challenges. Oh yeah, that's just fine. No concerns whatsoever. So on the ribbit test, we are going to give that a 10 out of 10. Wow, how did I get that spelling? Anyway, the drapiness. I'm slightly disappointed for a DK weight yarn. It's not the most amazing. I'm going to take a point off for that. No, you know what? I'm going to take 2 points off. The wash test, I think, is great. No concerns. Well, the one concern I do have is that it is hand wash only. So I want to take a point off for the fact that it is hand wash only, but there's no color bleeding, and I think the wear is going to be just fine on this. Concerns? My only concern would be, you know, that as you wear it a bit, are all of these little nubs, as they're called, are they going to come out? And that could just be a tweed thing, but we'll just give that a 9 out of 10. It's just a little nitpicky. And then the price is pretty darn awesome. For a premium yarn, it is a really good price. So I'm going to put it 9 out of 10 just because it is a premium yarn, so you're only getting 50 grams for that $6.99, but it's still a really good price for a premium. All right, let's do our quick math here. 10, 19, 20, 28. No, math is not my favorite subject. 34, 44, 56. Wait, 52. Wait, yeah, 52. I'm going to have to redo this. 63, 72, 81. All right, 8.1 out of 10. You know this. I think that the stitch definition really lowered that overall rating. And if you don't care about the stitch definition, this rating would go up quite a bit. Overall, I think this is a pretty amazing yarn, and I'm very happy with it. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever used this yarn and what you've made with it. I think it's awesome. Thanks so much, and Farah, frog us out of here.